Leadership Diversity in the Technology Sector by Group E.
Do you think you stand an equal chance to be promoted or hired as your wife, neighbor, or friend? If you think you do, chances are you're very lucky or just oblivious of what's going on in today's corporate world. Government regulations, such as affirmative action and anti-discrimination acts, have been formulated in a bid to address the ethnic and gender disparity in the workplace. Although this has increased the recruitment of women and ethnic minorities into lower level positions, there is a significant disparity in senior positions. The chances of recruiting or promoting a woman or a member of minority groups into managerial positions are significantly low. This presentation aims to explore why this disparity is persistent despite efforts to bridge the gap. Diversity in the workplace emerged as a foreground issue in the late 1990s and early 2000s, following a series of high-profile lawsuits that cost Morgan Stanley $54 million in sex discrimination allegation settlements and the Bank of Merrill Lynch $160 for racial biases. Before then, companies could get away with enforcing policies that perpetuated discrimination. The precedents set by the fines imposed on the two companies inspired other businesses to adopt fair promotion and hiring criteria. Despite the changes in perception, at least for most companies, today's workplace is still homogeneous. The persistence of the phenomena can be best understood through the leader-member exchange theory, implicit leadership theory, and critical race theories. The question posed by most companies, especially those with a homogeneous workforce, has always been, why diversity? Why is it important? For a start, most businesses serve a diverse consumers population, and given that diversity is projected to increase significantly in the United States, this trend must be mirrored in the corporate setting. Diversity is crucial because if leveraged correctly, it can drive a surge in income or bottom line. The increase in the revenue earned can be attributed to the emergence of favorable conditions for the workforce, translating to an increase in employee productivity. The improvement in the bottom line, by extension, means that shareholders will be earning more returns from their share capital. Moreover, a high non-homogeneous workforce avails holistic decision support information to the executive. All perceptions and belief sets of specific social and ethnic groups are captured in the information. It is clear that companies that are not leveraging workforce diversity are missing out and failing to exploit one of the most significant models to strengthen their competitive advantages. Understanding why diversity persists significantly contributes to the existing body of research, and this insight can be used to shape HR practices.
Leader-member exchange theory is a dyad in the manager's role in creating a beneficial or adverse partnership between them and their employees. A manager that makes their employees feel welcome is essential to the success of an organization. In relation to tech companies, the companies with the highest level of diversity among upper and lower management teams exhibited the highest productivity levels. Positive relations between a leader and employee further supports the importance of creating an inclusive environment where subordinates feel like they belong. So how does this theory work? The leader creates a relationship with their employees, which in turn the employees tend to perform higher, show greater organizational commitment, are overall more satisfied, and less likely to leave the company. However, unintentional and unideal cases also occur due to LMX. If a manager forms a strong relationship with some employees and alienates others, the sideline employees will feel unwanted, unvalued by the company, and result in higher turnover. The sideline employees will feel like their chance of getting promoted are extremely low, pushing them to leave the company.
Critical race theory as systemic racism. Is the system rigged against minorities, undermining diversity? The critical race theory is the lens through which policies and regulations in corporate and political spheres are evaluated and their contribution to racism and discrimination determined. The theory suggests that purported color blindness, especially in the hiring and promoting process, is a denial of the problem. The theory affirms that the system is rigged against minorities, and the only way to achieve diversity is to repeal oppressive regulations and hire or promote people equally. For instance, instead of assuming systemic racism is not a factor and proceeding to hire 2 white managers, the theory suggests that hiring 1 white and 1 black manager would be the more responsible thing to do. In 2020, President Trump issued an executive order banning critical race theory from being taught in companies taught by the federal government. Among those organizations were many universities and companies like Microsoft, who made a company-wide commitment to double their black managers and to hire more blacks over whites that are qualified. So what is critical race theory, and why was Trump at war with it? Critical race theory is the practice of examining systemic systems such as policies and regulations that contribute to racism in society that have emerged in the corporate and academic spheres of the workforce. So if companies like Microsoft could make a company-wide commitment to start hiring black workers over white workers, and that is considered divisive and unfair, what is the small percentage of black workers in the workforce then represent? Nolan Cabrera argued that critical race theory is actually not a theory, in that there is no question that led to conducting formal research. And with proper research comes to an interrogative understanding of how oppression is both recreated and challenged. As crits, who are anti-racist researchers, they frequently blame educational inequality on systemic racism and white supremacy. They have nothing to back up their claims. Therefore, a mental model of racism is not embedded in critical race theory, according to Nolan Cabrera. The critical race theory posits that the current workplace is not a leveled playing field. Some groups have an inherent advantage over others. To illustrate the impediments that hinder the culmination of a diverse workforce, Facebook's recruitment system is a good example. The system is tailored to restrict the pool from which Facebook recruits its employees, barring ethnic minorities and women from enjoying equal employability. Other examples of systems that limit diversity and further disenfranchise minority groups are the justice surveillance systems, the caste system in India, and anti-black facial recognition technology. We now examine a case example. The theory explains why diversity issues rage on despite the extensive effort to improve ethnic and gender equality in the workplace. The best example is presented by a study by Equity Labs, conducted on Indian Americans and immigrants in the U.S. and diversity. The study determined that Indians still practice the caste system, a social categorization system from a strong relationship with members of their caste class. As a result, the selective relationship propagates discrimination against lower caste members. A leader from a higher caste would deny an employee from a lower caste a promotion based on their social position on the societal ladder rather than competence and qualification. Selective relations with a particular group of employees while ignoring or alienating another undermine efforts to promote workplace diversity.
All right, the implicit leadership theory offers a lens through which the causation of poor diversity in the workplace can be understood. The theory states that people possess inherently developed perceptions of leadership and the attributes that determine a good or bad leader. These notions held consciously and or unconsciously, largely inform whom people accept as leaders. Given that followers subconsciously compare leaders to their cognitive images of a leader as a prototype. Therefore, when hiring boards hold such notions, diversity in the workplace is undermined. Alright, so next we're going to talk about implicit leadership theory examples. First, the ILT allows the perceived to categorize people into two groups, leaders and non-leaders, based on behavioral and other salient. What we have learned from this story is that the word cultural fit may have some dark meaning behind it based on recent hiring practices. Alright, for instance, the LA Times published a story on a black IT leader who was passed up for management positions because he was not suitable. However, he helped train and hire the new candidate. That may be a minor story. However, some of the biggest tech companies, such as Google, only are filled 2.6% of its company with black leaders, while at Facebook, only 3.1% of leaders are black. Alright, so we all have our perceptions of what we think a leader should be and the attributes that he or she must exhibit. These perceptions may be learned from social interactions or school, but that does not mean that they are universal. A patriarchal society may be inclined towards the notion that positions of leadership must be held by men, while other liberal societies may emphasize competence rather than gender of the candidate. Therefore, we must employ these judgments or notions in hiring, promoting, and dismissing employees. We will be undermining diversity.
More than $16 billion is lost each year in the tech industry due to turnover from employees that felt they were mistreated or unfairly treated. Kwasi Mitchell, Diversity and Inclusion Lead at Deloitte Consulting, has mentioned that turnover is a primary issue with minority employees. Unrepresented men of color seem to be the most impacted by unfair treatment in the tech sector, with 40% leaving due to mistreatment. Additionally, according to a study from CTI, more black employees than white employees felt they didn't have any promotional or advancement opportunities within a company. However, if a workplace attempted to be more inclusive, positive, and respectful, then 62% of employees surveyed said that that would have been enough for them to stay at the company.
Although there is a consensus in academia that diversity is beneficial for a company, diversity issues persist, especially in the tech industry. The problem can be attributed to systemic racism, alienation of minorities in the workplace, and culturally endorsed perception of leadership. The journey towards a fully non-homogeneous workplace is formidable, but the benefits are significant. To achieve diversity and reap the benefits of diversity in the workplace, a company should look to repeal discriminatory practices and policies.